What I'm holding in my hand is probably one of the most powerful aftermarket accessories for your Tesla. How many of you guys use Autopilot? How many of you guys hate the fact that Autopilot every like 20 to 40 seconds it asks you to grab the steering wheel to let it know you're alive, even though you know, and it's obvious, you are alive. You just don't want to have to hold the steering wheel. Well, I have the perfect solution for you. Do you know about sexy buttons? Enhauto.com, guys, check these out if you don't. They'll be in the description below. What I've made is completely based off this, and it wouldn't be possible without Enhauto's help. They're a super great company. They love engaging with the community, and they support modifying their modifications. Alright guys, so I'm about to show you how to unlock your Tesla. This sexy button is the key. Grab one of these in the commander from Enhauto. This is the hardware, which I will use to explain to you what is going on here. And even though it might look a little complicated, I promise to you it's very simple. The first thing you need to do is open your sexy button. I'm going to use the pick tool. On the button, there's this little tab right here. You kind of want to just press the pick underneath it. Oh, I just stabbed myself, but I'm fine. So anyways, put the pick underneath it. The outer layer is going to come off separate from like the inner layer. And press down. You're going to want to go around it and basically just pop out all the clips that are holding this outer layer in. So this is popped off, and then the fascia will just fall off like that. Now this is the back plate, and the button is just this. This is essentially all it is. So this is the circuit board, and this is our battery. It's 3 volt, I think 0.3 amps. And well, how do I know this? It's important to always test to make sure you're not overvolting or overcurrenting something. I did this with my multimeter and basically just made sure that all the connections were being fed the appropriate amount of power, not too much, but also not too little. Now, remove the sexy button. All you do is just pull it out, super simple. And you're going to need to cut 2 holes, not 3. I accidentally cut 3. Ignore this far one. You just need to worry about this hole and this hole on the side. You'll take a Dremel. I'll have one that'll be pretty good in the description below, the like button. And you're gonna cut these 2 holes if you want to have the button be powered by this microcontroller. And actually you need at least 1 hole because you need to run an earth wire or ground wire to it. The ground wire here is going to be green. The power wire is going to be red. When the Enhauto battery eventually dies, because it will, you can either replace it or you can just have it be powered off the microcontroller. Underneath the circuit board is going to be the ground. You can see that I'm tapping it all the way up there to that part of the battery, and the positive is going to be underneath the battery. So you can see they're tapped just like this, and they're being held in with friction by the battery and the board. When my battery eventually dies, I won't have to worry about replacing it because it should be powered just off this microcontroller. A way you can test this out is by removing the battery in one of your buttons and then tapping these 2 wires to the negative, which will be like a gold plate behind here, the backing, and then the positive, which is these 2 metal spots up here or anywhere at the bottom of the battery where it's like cupped. Make your 2 holes with the Dremel. You'll have to make a groove inside of here so that your power wire will sit nice and flush, because you still want to be able to close this up at the end of the day. These are where I recommend drilling your holes as well, just to have everything fit nicely in here. You can see that it fits pretty well. And the plastic pieces will be able to go back on. However, the fit will not be super snug, especially on this side, because you're removing some of the clip area. So you might have to throw like a piece of tape or maybe a rubber band over this bottom part to make sure it's held in really strong. Or you could hot glue it. You can also plug these holes with these connectors with hot glue as well. Again, I'm trying to make this as simple as possible with as little soldering as possible. You will have to do 1 solder connection. So just to show you, the button still works. It's flashing like this. All right guys, so zooming into the button, the 1 solder connection you will need to make is on this side. If you look at the actual button itself, there is this metal piece right here. That is what you're going to need to tap to. This one right here, right next to the button. You're going to need to solder a connector onto this. This is going to be the only thing that you need to solder, and you can see that it's going to light up like this. I'd recommend using brown or green for your earth wire, your negative wire, and then your positive, the hot wire, I'd be using red. And then for data, you can use purple. That's typically what I always use. Data is purple or blue. So how does this all work? We'll go over the code in a second, don't worry about that. But this microcontroller, you're getting ground from this green part right here, positive continuous power from this 3 volt, and then this data wire is what's coded. So data is coming out of this, exactly what we're coding. You can see it flashing this LED. it's on the same rail, which is giving power to this and then sending power to this LED. Currently the code has it to where it'll light up for 2 seconds and then it will shut off for about 12 seconds. And that's pretty much what it's doing right here. Now, of course, when we have the code not in its testing phase, it's going to be a complete random cycle, not 12 seconds, so that the autopilot will be completely confused and it won't catch on to you cheating. It'll be a complete random number that's generated between like 2 seconds to 12 seconds. Now, let me show you that whenever this LED turns off really quickly, it's going to flash this button. So let's tap it to the appropriate spot where we want to tap it, wait for the LED to turn on. Turns on, and then you'll see it flash, and then it will eventually turn off. It's just flashing so much right now because it's trying to pair to the commander because I'm inside, not with my car next to the commander. We'll see the red light go on again, and then we'll see the light on our sexy button go on again. That's pretty much it, guys. That's the one point you're going to have to solder it to right there. And so I'm going to solder it with it sticking up like this. So we can see the red button go on again, and this is going to flash. So yeah. Pretty much it, guys. We're gonna have to solder this. It's a bit sketch because it's a super small working room, but gotta do it, guys. We gotta do it. So that is the plan, just one solder point. Now we're going to use the original housing, so we're going to reuse this frame and we're going to use this as well. Now I have a bunch of holes drilled into this because I had a lot of beta versions I was testing. You don't need this many holes, you just need one. So line it up with this big circle to this big circle over here, and basically you're just going to want to drill a hole out above where you want your wire coming out of. So for me, should be about this hole right here. You can see the button right there. You might also want to drill a hole on top of the button so you could take a paper clip and like press it down, because you might not be able to completely press this down once it's in. Of course I was able to right now, but you just might not be able to. It's just something like that. You want to drill these holes bigger than your wire. That way there's not a lot of friction if you ever need to remove this and you're not ripping off your solder points. That's pretty much it on the button side, guys. Let's go ahead and solder this thing down. All right, guys, so you're gonna unplug those wires because it just makes everything easier. Take this, I put some blue tape over this so we don't get any splashing of solder onto anywhere else on the board. You can see that the data pin is in place, ready to get soldered. I'm gonna take kind of like a sideways approach and try to hit it from the side and get it to be soldered onto that spot. But this is pretty much all you need. The data wire, solder, and this right here, helping hands to help you out, because this needs to be pretty precise. I can't stress that enough. Now these buttons are pretty resilient. I messed up and kind of broke some parts on it and it still works completely fine. But just be super careful at this point. Use a super fine thin tip. Let's get this, guys. Let's solder that point down. It is cold outside. All right, guys, this is a super crude housing, but I'm just gonna use it. Basically gonna hot glue this little microcontroller in place. I cut out some holes for where I need the leads for that to come out, and then I'm just gonna hot glue these in place. So it's basically all held together hot glue. It's pretty crude, but it makes it even more simple. I'll try to have this in the description below the like button. It's an updated design on the housing. Of course, you could always make your own housing. I wound the wires, and you could totally cut them and make them shorter and then just route them like straight into the microcontroller, but I'm kind of lazy. Also, you can see this red wire sticking out. Let's talk about that for a second. For some reason, when I left it plugged in, after I plugged this in and then unplugged this, it was still cycling power, and this was still on, which it shouldn't be, so I unplugged it. You could totally add like a switch in here to have this on and off, and I think that's just because the battery is still inside of here. I left it in there. When that drains, I would probably just leave this in, and then there shouldn't be any issues. If there are any issues, I could always fix them in code. Oh, but what's on the screen? That's a better housing. So I'll try to have that in the description below the like button. This is just the first housing that I made, and recycle, reduce, reuse, right? So we're reusing it. Anyways, the button's up here. You can see all the wires go around here, and then this plugs into the USB-A that's in my center console. I'll show you that after the code. But yeah, like I said, you can make these wires shorter, totally up to you. You can mount the button in a better place. The hot glue is just to secure everything in, so everything is pretty stable. You don't have to worry about anything moving around. If you ever need to rebind this to the car, that little middle hole right there, super perfect. You could put like a paper clip or some tweezers right down there and still press that blue button. Though the actual pressing of the button itself currently is not supported, because if you press down, nothing's going to happen because it's kind of hot glued in place right here. And you might break that solder point, so I'd recommend not pressing down. If you have any questions or suggestions, leave a comment below. Alright guys, so we're in the car with the device here, and the hot glue kind of came off for this part, this USB. Might want to do the mounting of this another way. Maybe like if you want to be temporary a rubber band, or you can use a stronger bond adhesive, whatever, or you can just integrate it into the housing. Anyways, I'll have a video, hopefully in the future, where I upgrade this design, because this does not look good. However, it works. And how does it work? Well, this is the center console thing that I was talking to you about. It's actually amazing. It has retractable cables. Check that video out and check that product out in the description below. Alright guys, so we're on the freeway right now. You saw that notification right there. And let's go ahead and plug this in and see how it works. So once you plug this in, there should be a red light that comes on. And check this out, guys. I'm not doing anything, and this should be adjusting like that. There we go. So it's just gonna keep doing that forever, continuously. And that just basically resets the Autopilot NAG, makes it think that you have been holding the steering wheel. You can see it kind of just did it right there, but that's pretty much it. That is how that works, exactly. So to set this up, go into your Enhauto app, go into buttons. You're gonna want to add a sexy button, and that's when you're going to go and press and hold down the blue middle button with like your tweezers or a paper clip, whatever have you. And then you should add the button. Mine is going to be button 7, so I'll click this. See, I have it as autopilot hands-on. So go into autopilot and put it down to autopilot hands-on, and then you will be able to have autopilot hands-on. And that's pretty much it, guys. Alright guys, so I just finished editing the video, and did you notice anything missing? It was the code for it. Now, I kind of went back and forth because this is a bit dangerous. You know, it infinitely goes your autopilot. So basically, your car, if you were like to fall asleep, for example, there's like no safety features or anything to stop it. So it's kind of a dilemma. Like, do I release the code for it? Do I show how this works, or just do I show it working? Because I just took like a 300 or I think 400 mile road trip, used that the entire time. So golden. So used properly, I mean, it's amazing, but it could be used improperly. I don't know, guys. Leave a comment below if you want to see the code, if you want me to help with the code, if I should even release it. What do you think? I would really appreciate your thoughts, and I guess if enough people want it, or if anyone really wants it, I could make a second video showing how to code, because the coding process itself is a little interesting. So I didn't want to put that in video because I guess of safety, and as well as it's a bit advanced, but just let me know and maybe we'll do something about it in the future. Stay subscribed, and thanks for watching.